the 2017 TTC Public Forum on Accessible Transit. We very much appreciate you taking the time to be here this evening. The TTC is committed to providing barrier-free and accessible service that allows for freedom of travel for all customers. Tonight is an opportunity to provide you with updates on how the TTC is working towards that goal, including updates on TTC accessibility initiatives, the Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy, and work undertaken by the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit. Importantly, tonight is an opportunity for you to ask questions and provide feedback regarding the accessibility of conventional TTC and door-to-door Wheel-Trans services. Now, before I review tonight's agenda, I would also like to take a moment to welcome everyone who is watching online and who can participate in tonight's forum using Twitter hashtag TTCAccess. My name is Alicia Evans, and I will be your facilitator for this evening. It is my job tonight to help ensure that we hear from as many of you as possible. Your time is valuable, and we want to make the most of it. We also want to make it as easy as possible to participate, and to do so, we have both captioning and ASL interpreters available. And of course, if you need any additional support, we have attendants also available to help. So please let them know if you need anything. Tonight's agenda will unfold in two parts as follows. So during the first part of the evening, we will hear from our TTC representatives. First, TTC Vice Chair Alan Heisey will provide opening remarks. Following these, Debbie Gillespie, the 2017 Chair for the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit, or ACAT, will introduce the role of ACAT and provide an update on their recent priorities. We will then hear from the City of Toronto Ombudsman, Susan Opler, and Kirsten Watson, Chief Customer Officer, will follow and share what has been done to improve accessibility of the conventional TTC system. And finally, Eve Wiggins, Head of Wheel-Trans, will provide an update on the Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy. Now, following these presentations, we will hear from those of you in the room and, of course, those of you at home. And I will provide more guidelines and instructions shortly for how that conversation will take place. But I'd like to now welcome TTC Vice Chair Alan Heisey to provide some opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Mic working? I wanted to welcome everybody tonight to the TTC's Public Forum on Accessible Transit. This is the 10th annual forum. I've been pleased to have been to 3 now. And I hear that our attendance tonight is 50% bigger or more than last year, which shows the degree of interest there is in our city in this issue and how important this forum is. I wanted to extend regrets on behalf of Councillor Josh Cole, who's our colleague on the board and the chair. He regrets he wasn't able to make it tonight. But I have a bit of good news for you. I was appointed as a citizen rep to represent all of you by City Council. I'm not an elected person. City Council appoints 4 citizens to represent the rest of us, and all 4 of them are here tonight, which I'm pretty pleased with. That's a first too. Rick Byers, Joanne De Laurentiis, and Ra Lalonde, all 4 citizen commissioners are here this evening. I want you to know that both personally and my knowledge of the board, that we have, if we weren't aware, we've become aware and understand the issue of disabilities much better than we did before we got on this board. And we work hard, and I know the staff and the executives here work very hard to advance the matters that are of concern to you. There have been some huge accomplishments in the last several years, however frustratingly slow they may seem. We have 44 accessible streetcars now on 44 streetcar routes, the 509, the 510, 514, and as of this month, St. Clair is going to open with accessible streetcars on 512. We have 36 accessible subway stations. It's not good enough, but we're on our way, with Ossington and St. Clair West, the latest to come online, and Woodbine and Coxwell to be both accessible by the end of this year. The Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy, which I think is exciting, has gotten underway with changes that will provide all of you with more freedom and flexibility, and I'm looking forward to hearing Eve Wiggins describe them in greater detail. I'm proud, as I know the entire board is, of the people who work for the TTC and of the achievements that we've made and the progress that have been made in our term, and I promise you we'll continue to work hard to ensure that we provide an accessible, customer-driven transit system. There's a lot of work ahead for us, but I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback. Give us a piece of your mind. I know this is not a shy audience. And I look forward to hearing your feedback, and we'll take it back to the board meetings that we participate in. It will inform our decisions. So thanks very much, and I look forward to hearing from you.
We will now turn it over to Debbie Gillespie, ACAT Chair, to provide an update on ACAT priorities.
Am I not supposed to speak here? Was I supposed to go to the lectern? Okay. What was that?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the commissioners who have come this evening as well. And quite honestly, it's your night in the audience. It's a chance for you to express your thoughts, concerns, and everything to do with accessibility. And we've come a long way in 10 years or more. The first slide shows you what we're going to talk about, and quite honestly, I'll keep it brief. It's not about myself or the people on this podium. It's about you in the audience. What is ACAT? How do I apply for membership? What is ACAT involved in and its role? Questions and answers from the session. I'd like to move now to the next slide where we show our current membership of ACAT. These are all of the people that are currently on ACAT this year for this term, for this 1 year of 2017, and we'll get into that a little bit further down the road. The next slide, the role of the ACAT Accessibility Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit. It represents the needs and concerns of people with disabilities and seniors, physical, cognitive, sensory, mental health, and seniors. It works collaboratively with staff to advise on education programs and advise related to public transit on all matters of public transit. It is a citizen advisory committee to the TTC. ACAT reports directly to the board at the monthly board meetings. Moving now to the membership slide of the terms of membership. ACAT is comprised of 15 volunteers, a minimum of 2 seniors, maximum of 3 advocates for people who represent people with disabilities. And those could be people from other agencies, but they are not necessarily people with disabilities. Each year, 5 new members are chosen to become members of ACAT, and they serve a 3-year term. There are also up to 3 pool members who act as alternates for 1 year, a 1-year term on ACAT. The next slide, when and where does ACAT meet? It meets monthly. Currently, it's the last Thursday of the month. The meetings run from 1 to 3:30 in the afternoon, and the meetings take place at the TTC headquarters at Yonge and Davisville. Members must also participate in 2 subcommittees along with the main ACAT meeting. These subcommittees meet on their own schedules. It could be once a month, it could be once every 2 months, it could be bi-weekly as issues arise. Most of the meetings take place during business hours. The next slide, ACAT in action. These are some of the things that we're involved in currently. This year, we've taken it as a snapshot of what we currently do now. Some of the committees that ACAT sits on, as well as ACAT members sit on, are the TTC Customer Liaison Panel, Metrolinx Accessibility Advisory Committee for the Eglinton Crosstown, the Relief Line Stakeholder Advisory Panel, the City of Toronto Transit Fare Equity Committee. And I can tell you from personal experience, some of these change and move. You might be conscripted to other things as well, but these are some of the things that we do. Moving to the next slide, ACAT priorities. Provide crucial advice on Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy, working on the application form. We're involved in the functional assessment criteria. Worked with the appeal process panel. And the family of services pilot. Current priorities: accessible customer service education campaign, accessibility features in the place of vehicles and services. Continue to advocate for accessible TTC membership and corporate plan, 5-year strategy corporate plan. It's something we're very involved in. Now let's move to the fun part. How do we apply? A person who wishes to become a member of ACAT must be a resident of Toronto and must use the TTC, either conventional service or Wheel-Trans. You should be a person with a disability or a senior, or represent the needs of people with disabilities or seniors. Need to be available for meetings as required, and as I mentioned earlier, many of these meetings are in business hours. Sometimes they're not, but often they are. Also, if it happens that you may be called on to do other tasks during the process. I currently have a job at CNIB, and I must thank them for allowing me to be part of ACAT and do the work that we do. ACAT consists of subcommittees, and the ACAT subcommittees, moving to the next slide, are as follows, and I will briefly go through these. I don't want to take up too much time. You'll hear those of you who want to apply for membership. We'll get to that. The Communications Subcommittee reviews all materials that affect accessibility in marketing materials. Could be bus stop design, poles, and so forth. The Design Review Subcommittee reviews and makes recommendations on design improvements to vehicles and facilities that affect people with disabilities. Easier access features and priorities to TTC. The next slide is the Service Planning Subcommittee. Advises on matters that related to using the subway service. And my guide dog, Creed, has decided he's had enough of me, and I can't say as I blame him on occasion. The Service Planning Committee also works with the training and policy development for TTC, and works with the annual public forum. Please excuse me while I get my dog back to his Good boy. He really is the star, I must say. The Wheel-Trans Operations Subcommittee provides advice on Wheel-Trans operations issues and has been a very integral key component to the 10-year strategy and the rollout of the family of services. The next slide, ACAT meetings and Our ACAT in general is led by the chair of ACAT. They develop the agenda, work with the staff on constant issues, and relate back to the main ACAT subcommittee. I might add also that the minutes of all ACAT meetings are a matter of public record and are available on the TTC website at www.ttc.ca/ACAT. ACAT also takes deputations from the public, and there's a process, and if anyone does wish to do a deputation, you follow the process, go onto the website, and we do welcome deputations as well. It's something where the public gets to take part in and request their concerns on ACAT. Moving to the next slide, resources and further information. The website I've already mentioned, so I won't repeat that. The ACAT Terms of Reference is also available on the ACAT page, and the meeting schedules as well. So ACAT meetings are public. Anyone is able to attend, is able to do so. You don't have to notify, you just come to 1900 Yonge Street and on the last Thursday of the month and attend. Now, in order to become a member of ACAT, you must attend one of the orientation sessions, at which time you would receive an application to apply. The deadline to have those applications back to TTC staff is October 31st at 4 p.m. And you would receive an application form once you go to one of the orientation sessions, which will be publicized very shortly now. I'm going to conclude my remarks, and I'm going to hand it back to the facilitator, but it's been a true honor and a pleasure to speak with you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I'd like to now turn it over to Susan Opler, Toronto Ombudsman, who will now say a few words.
Good evening, everybody. I'm delighted to be here to introduce myself to you as the Ombudsman of the City of Toronto and to tell you a little bit in 5 minutes or less about how our office, my role at the City, and how our office works. What we do is up on the screen: listening, investigating, and improving city services. Ombudsman is actually a Swedish word, and it means representative of the people. In actual fact, we're not a representative of the people. We are a representative of fairness. We're an impartial office that operates independently from the city, and our role is to ensure that the city's administration and the services that the city provides to the public are fair. We oversee all the divisions of the city government, and we also oversee most of the city-owned agencies and corporations, which include, of course, the TTC. So how do we fit into the city administration? If you have a complaint about a city service, for example, a TTC service, you should complain directly to who is providing the service. So if you have a complaint about a TTC service, the first stop is to go through the TTC's complaint process. But if after you have done that, you're not satisfied and you still believe that you have not been treated fairly, then please contact us, and we will provide an independent and impartial examination of the problem, and we'll try to find a fair resolution of that problem. Our services at Ombudsman Toronto are free, they're confidential, and fully accessible. We have access to basic translation in over 100 languages. Our business cards include Braille. Our website and all of our reports and documents that we produce are AODA compliant. You can complain by phone, you can complain by email, through our website, or by visiting our fully accessible office, which is located at 375 University, just 1 block away from City Hall. You can drop by anytime during our business hours, which are posted on the website, or you can call us and make an appointment outside of business hours, and we'd be happy to meet you if that's more convenient. What we do in a nutshell is to hold the TTC and the rest of the city accountable in their duty to provide fair and equitable service to every single member of the public. In light of this, I want to thank the TTC for agreeing when I asked whether we could participate in this evening's forum. To my mind, that shows that they really are committed to providing fair and equitable service, to the point that they're prepared to have their overseer or their watchdog participate in the event and tell people that we're here, and if you don't feel that they've handled your issue appropriately, you should call us. You have a very full agenda this evening, so I won't say any more, but I do encourage you to please check out our website. It's very engaging, fully accessible, as I mentioned, and it has a lot of information about what we do, how we do it, and how you can contact us if we can be of help. So thank you so much for your attention, and have a wonderful forum.
Thank you. Kirsten Watson, Chief Customer Officer of the TTC, will now provide some updates about improvements to the accessibility of the conventional system.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Kirsten Watson, Chief Customer Officer at the TTC. It is really wonderful to see such a large group of people here today, and it was really great to connect with a lot of you in the marketplace and reconnect with a lot of you in the marketplace. So thank you so much for coming. And as you've probably noticed, there's a number of TTC staff here. We would be remiss if we also didn't thank them for coming. Accessibility has a broad reach across our organization, as you know. It touches every function, and there are representatives here from across our organization to help you out tonight with any questions you may have. So thanks everyone for coming. Tonight I'm just going to provide you with a brief update on the TTC's ongoing work to make the conventional transit system, subway, train stations, buses, and streetcars accessible to people of all abilities by 2025. I'll try to keep my remarks brief so that we can get to the more exciting part of the evening, which is your Q&A. So on buses, all TTC buses are now low floor and accessible with ramps. They're also now equipped with external route and destination announcements to make it easier for all customers to find their bus. And we're continuing to make bus stops accessible with plans to upgrade over 300 bus stops by the end of 2017 and even more next year. And this has been made possible by the federal public transit infrastructure funding. We're also working very closely with Debbie and the ACAT board and members and bus manufacturers together to optimize the accessible seating areas and securement features. We want to ensure more maneuverability around board for customers using mobility devices. On to streetcars. As Vice Chair Heisey was explaining, we have 3 streetcar routes that are now accessible: 509 Harborfront, 510 Spadina, and the 514 Cherry. All the streetcars on these routes are now low floor, and work is ongoing to ensure all streetcar stops on these routes are also accessible. And as of September 3rd, accessible streetcars are now beginning to operate on the 512 St. Clair, and more will be deployed on St. Clair as we receive them. And similarly, we expect to bring accessible streetcars to 504 King and 505 Dundas, and by 2019, the goal is to have accessible streetcars on all streetcar routes. Over to the subway side of the business. Over 50% of our subway stations are now accessible, with Ossington completed in late 2016. Our 36th accessible station will be St. Clair West, and all of the elevators are now open and ready for customers to use. We expect the station will be declared accessible when the finishing touches are done. Elevators at Woodbine and Coxwell will be ready by the end of the year, and next year at DuPont and St. Patrick. And elevators are under construction at Royal York Station, and our objective, as you know, is to have all stations accessible by 2025. On December 17th, we will open the Grand Line 1 extension, and we'll have 6 new stations all accessible all the way to Vaughan. So over to Presto, which is our fare card. We have new wide accessible fare gates, and that installation is well underway. All stations have at least one entrance that's Presto enabled. And construction, you'll see that construction around the city is ongoing to bring our remaining station, the legacy stations, the downtown stations, which aren't equipped with the fare gates. Those will be online shortly. All should be done early next year. We've had some really great engagement with ACAT on Presto and the accessibility of Presto generally. And what we've decided with the help of ACAT is a second Presto reader will be installed on the wide fare gates at all stations, and that work is ongoing. So last year at the forum, we took over 300 different comments and suggestions from customers at the forum. And I can assure you, with Matt Hagg's deft organizational skills, those were passed around the organization again to the different functions that were responsible for those different areas of accessibility. And all of those answers were accumulated. We brought those back, and we really did take a look at those, and we've made changes on and taken your advice and taken your wise counsel on many of the items that you have. The work continues. There's no doubt that we are not done yet, and that's why we're here. We're here to get your feedback, good, bad, and we'll continue to work with you to make the system much more accessible. Thank you so much.
I'd like to turn the mic over now to Eve Wiggins, head of Wheel-Trans, to provide an update on the Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy.
Good evening, everyone. I am Eve Wiggins, head of Wheel-Trans, and it is my pleasure to be here with you once again. Tonight, I will provide you with an update on some of the many Wheel-Trans transformation initiatives that are underway. This includes work on our customer experience strategy, the Family of Services pilot, and the Community Bus pilot. As well, I will share a preview of some other upcoming initiatives. But first, I would like to personally thank members of ACAT for their continued guidance and advice to doing the right things and doing the right things right for our customers. And I would also like to thank every Wheel-Trans employee that are here and are out driving around other customers tonight or at home getting ready to come back into work tomorrow morning, for dedicating yourselves and for working so hard to embrace the changes that we are making and continuing to deliver such important service to our customers. At Wheel-Trans, we continue to be inspired by our mission, and that is to provide a barrier-free, accessible service that is efficient, reliable, and available as part of an accessible TTC. And our vision to create an accessible transit service that ensures dignity, spontaneity, fairness, and freedom of travel for all customers. The Wheel-Trans 10-year strategy supports this mission and vision and charts course for how we can revolutionize our service delivery. The Wheel-Trans customer experience strategy, which we will share with you in upcoming months, will set the tone for how we realize this mission and vision. The goal of the strategy is to create a deliberate and consistent way of interacting with and delivering our services to you that most importantly is aligned with your needs and expectations. We've consulted with our customers and community partners to learn more about your travel habits, what you need us for, and what you want us to be there for. Our research told us that our Wheel-Trans customers' average age is 73, with the largest age group being 81 years old. 71% of our customers are ambulatory, and almost 70% of you have used the conventional transit system in the last year. You expect a service that is simple and easy to use, one that anticipates your needs and matches them to the travel options that best suit you. You expect invisible support that will enable you to independently solve the potential challenges that you may face. You expect us to provide a more convenient and reliable service and customize your trip planning. It's time for Wheel-Trans to do away with the one-size-fits-all model of service delivery. The strategy will drive a number of business choices, including new policies for how our service is structured and the way and tone in which our employees engage with customers and how we support customers to help each other. In addition, the strategy will also drive the creation of a customer charter, which will make clear expectations for what you can expect of us and how you can help your fellow customer get to where they need to get to also on time. A first policy change is the revised Wheel-Trans late cancellation and no-show policy, which we unveiled a couple of weeks ago. Under the old policy, you told us loud and clear that you felt that the penalty system was too restrictive and didn't suit your life. We adopted a new point system that focuses less on penalty and more on understanding and flexibility. Through this new system, the number of late cancellation, no-show, and cancel-at-the-door occurrences a customer can have in 1 month has been increased. The cancellation window has also been adjusted so that customers can now cancel their trip up to 4 hours before their scheduled pickup time. We also continue to advance on the family of services model. We are happy to offer customer journeys on all accessible TTC modes to provide more independent and flexible travel options, while supporting the rapidly growing number of registered Wheel-Trans customers. This year, we expect to deliver approximately 4.4 million trips, and next year, we expect that number to rise to 5 million. 4,000 new customers have signed on with us with conditional eligibility alone, and more with unconditional eligibility or temporary. We encourage each of them to find out now how they can book family of services trips on fully accessible routes. To do that, we have developed the Family of Services pilot. It was implemented earlier this year to help us to learn what permanent changes and procedures we needed to make to give you greater access to more transit options. We are currently in phase 2 of the 4-phase project, and during these first 2 phases, it's connecting customers to and from the subway system. And during phases 3 and 4, which will roll out shortly, will be connection to 5 bus routes in the city. We are gathering valuable information about customer journeys to help us create the permanent processes, and to date, more than 700 customer volunteers have registered to participate, and over 6,000 rides have been booked. But we'd like to see more of you trying out the conventional system so that we can learn from you how we need to make things better for you. This map shows many surface and underground routes that Wheel-Trans customers are connected to through the pilot. They include subway stations along the Yonge University line, the Bloor-Danforth line, the Shepherd line and Scarborough line, and designated bus stops along Dufferin, Shepherd East and West, Yonge Street and York Mills. If you haven't already tried it, we would like to encourage you to sign up for the pilot to try the conventional system, of course with our support. Another exciting launch is the community bus pilot. Wheel-Trans vehicles operate 5 community bus routes and stop in front of many destinations such as grocery stores, shopping and community centers, libraries, and hospitals. This bus also operates on a regular schedule and can be flagged down at any point along the route. You may have seen one of our newly branded buses out when you arrived this evening. These features often make the community bus a more convenient option to Wheel-Trans door-to-door service for neighborhood travel because it is totally spontaneous and there is no need to book your ride, but it is the same type of vehicle as your Wheel-Trans vehicle that you're used to, with a Wheel-Trans operator who knows how to support you. On September 5th, we began a 9-month pilot along 2 routes, the 400 Lawrence Manor and 404 East York. These were expanded to add hourly, weekday service and additional stops. As I mentioned, the community bus has been rebranded to reflect its friendliness and convenience. You will notice that buses along these routes will be repainted as the year rolls on and have a new symbol along the side. We are also receiving requests to expand our other routes in Etobicoke, Parkdale, and South Don Mills, and are making plans to do so. In August, we were excited to receive the first of 19 new minibuses. You might have seen the one out front here as well as you arrived, that will be delivered before the end of 2017. And thank you to the TTC board for recently approving the purchase of 60 additional minibuses for delivery in 2018. These minibuses are more comfortable than our current buses and offer easy boarding from either the side or rear doors, depending if we are on a driveway or on the street, and accommodate various mobility devices, and perhaps most importantly, the bus is smaller to navigate some of Toronto's tight spots and driveways as well. You can expect to see them in operation in the months ahead. As we look ahead, I am very excited about these changes that are on the horizon. A new phone system will be installed early next year. This will enable us to take more of your calls more quickly and reduce your wait times on the phone. I know. I agree. With our customer experience strategy being finalized, you can expect to see more policy revisions, a new customer handbook, customer charter, and a travel training program will also be rolled out. We also continue to provide sensitivity and enhanced customer service training for our staff and operators to improve every interaction you have with us. Thank you very much for your time, and I really look forward to hearing your questions tonight.
Well, the purpose of tonight's forum is to hear your thoughts and feedback about the issues and challenges that you and we face. So as you speak about these challenges, I'll also encourage you to provide your ideas on possible solutions. So ideas that are shared tonight may be the seed for a new way of getting things done, and we want to hear from you. So in a moment, it will be your opportunity to share your comments and ideas and ask your questions. But let me first walk you through how this portion of the evening will flow. Now, when we open the floor to hear from you, we will take 3 or 4 comments or questions at a time, and then turn it over to our TTC panel to address your comments. So our panel tonight includes TTC CEO Andy Byford, Chief Customer Officer Kirsten Watson, Head of Wheel-Trans Eve Wiggins, and the 2017 ACAT Chair Debbie Gillespie. As a moderator, my role is to ensure that we hear from as many of you as possible and that tonight's discussion takes place in a respectful environment. So when we open the floor, I will ask you to keep your comments to 1 minute. That's right, thank you. And there is a clock at the front of the room, as you can see, and I will also verbally let you know as you approach the time, and I will raise my hand, so you will have lots of warning that you are getting close to your time limit. So there are many people participating tonight, and I will be very particular about this time. There are a number of ways that you can participate in the conversation tonight. So for those of you in the room, you can raise your hand and a microphone will come over to you. So we have 4 microphones this evening. We have Mark, Zidana, and Stuart with mics. Can you just raise your hand up for a moment? So they will come to you when you raise your hand. But if you'd prefer, you can also write down your comments or questions on these small blue assistance cards, and I see that we already have a number coming to the front. So staff will be available to collect these from you, so please just raise your hand or your card in the air and someone will come and collect it from you. And of course, as the event is being live streamed this evening, those watching from home can also participate through Twitter using hashtag TTCAccess. At various points throughout the evening, we will share back to you some of what we were hearing on Twitter. And of course, this is not the end of the conversation tonight, only the beginning. So if you do not have a chance to share your comment or ask your question, then you can certainly do so at any time, and we will provide some information to you on how you can do that before we leave this evening. So now is your opportunity to share your thoughts, comments, and ideas. And as a reminder, please keep your comments to a maximum of 1 minute so that we may hear from as many people as possible. So I'm going to open it to the floor, and we're going to start with Mark.
I gotta say thank you to the City of Toronto for providing us this beautiful service. I think this is the only city in the world providing this. Anyway, I have just one thing. We're waiting too long for the service, the taxis to get home. So I think we should give them more time from one address to the other. And if it's more convenient, I think we should pay a little bit more. Maybe a membership fee yearly. I think we are so many people using this, and it won't be a big thing, you know, to pay a little bit more to have a better service. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Z?
The reason I said hallelujah is because I pray for you a lot. And I was praying exactly for what Eve said, that we would have a shorter wait time on the phone, because that's my only way to get through to TTC. But my need at this point is I have a church in Markham, and I'm praying that TTC takes me to Markham without having to connect with York Region. I tried it, it's almost impossible. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Donna?
Hi, I have a question about the streetcar routes that are still using the old streetcars, and those of us that are disabled and able to bring our walkers and canes and everything to get on and off the streetcar. When we get off the streetcar, the driver quickly closes the door, essentially leaving us in a live lane of traffic as we are trying to get to the curb cuts. So when will the regular TTC staff be getting training similar to that of Wheel-Trans operators? This would be more specialized training than AODA training.
Thank you. And Stuart?
Hi, my name's Ron. Thank you very much for bringing up the charter. I think it's long overdue. My question is in regards to the TTC Wheel-Trans stating publicly that they're going to move 50% of the current, or over half of the current users of Wheel-Trans to the family of services. What is the plans and the deadlines for doing that?
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to turn it over to the panel now.
I'll do the first one. Okay, good evening, everyone. Andy Byford, I'm the CEO of the TTC. It's fantastic to see such a great turnout tonight. This is my, I think this is my 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17th, 6th forum, and this is definitely, I would say, the best attendance we've had in my 6 years. I also think this is a way better room than one of the ones we previously used before. So I'm going to comment on the first one. Eve, perhaps if you could comment on the deadlines comment around family of service, and then if I might ask you, Kirsten, to deal with the one around conventional streetcars. So the one I'm going to comment on was the gentleman who spoke first. It's great that you feel that the service is good. It definitely can be better, and it will be better, and you'll hear me make comments about that at the end of the evening. But I would like to just respond to your point about paying a membership fee for better service. I think you already do. It's called your fare, and I don't think it's fair, F-A-I-R, that people, Wheel-Trans users, should pay more than anyone else. So I appreciate the gesture. But it's for me, it's binary. If you're paying extra on a membership fee, so am I, right? It's not right that there should be a surcharge, if you like, or an extra fee to use Wheel-Trans. Absolutely not. It's part of the service. So thanks for the offer. The bigger challenge is to get more funding for the TTC, still the lowest funded transit in North America. Leave that to me. That's my job with my wonderful board members. And we will get you that improved service without you having to pay some kind of surcharge.
Okay, thank you, Andy, very much. So the question about connecting to attend church in Markham. So we are actually not allowed to travel outside of the City of Toronto. That's why we have the cross-boundary relationships. But I can say that monthly we meet with the Greater Toronto Hamilton Area Paratransit or Specialized Transit Working Group, and that is myself and my counterparts from York Region, Durham, Peel, Hamilton, Oakville, Burlington Transit, and we talk about how we can better improve cross-boundary travel. And that includes shortening the connection time so that our bus dropping you at a connection point can meet their bus, and that we tighten the time that we expect you to wait there, and that's up to us to deliver that for you. So I understand certainly loud and clear from our customers, many of them travel to and from York Region, and our goal is to actually shorten the wait times so that it would be no different than you connecting within Toronto. So that's the intent there, is that we will work harder to tighten that, and also one-stop shop so that you can call one number and book the whole trip all the way through rather than trying to coordinate yourself. It's our job to coordinate that for you. That's how we're looking at it. And then the question was about moving 50% of users to family of services. Actually, it's 50% of trips. When we did a forecast model of the number of trips that, given the current demand, as our demand raises every year, we are anticipating 10 million Wheel-Trans trips will be asked for by customers in 2025. 10 million trips is a lot of trips, and we know that with the system becoming 100% accessible by 2025, that some of those trips can be completed, and it would be easier for you to do that on the conventional system than it would be to continue with door-to-door service on Wheel-Trans. So it's not that half of users, it's half of the trips. That doesn't necessarily mean that every single user is able to. The intent is to preserve 100% door-to-door service for those customers who cannot take any other mode, but facilitate for those users who can take other modes and would like to. And that really, this is when Wheel-Trans needs to get out of customers' way and allow customers to go to and from at their own leisure and their own pace when they want to. So the intent is not half of the users, but half of the trips, because as we know, people travel very differently, and we want to make sure that there's service for everyone who needs it. And then an earlier question about giving taxis more time to get from A to B, that is something that we are also, as part of the strategy, is making sure that we have a scheduling system that learns and that properly can route A to B trips. That's important for us because it ensures that we're better able to deliver on-time service, and it's also better for you because then you know and can rely on when you should get there, and also better for our drivers who are less stressed, and we want them to be less stressed when they're driving you around. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just quickly speak to the question about the operator training and the comment about the streetcars and operators closing the doors and then a customer's left in a live lane of traffic. So I think we'll probably get other comments tonight about bypassing and other operator behavior, and we know that stuff happens, and we have a extensive training in place for new operators, for recertification of operators, and we've recently rolled out a brand new module. It's to support and accompany the family of services changes at Wheel-Trans so that the conventional operators are more aware of the challenges that some of our customers will face, and that they make those conscious efforts to do things like make sure that people are when they have a mobility device, are on the sidewalk after they leave the streetcar. So that will be rolling out to the streetcar divisions as well. And I'm just going to ask Debbie from ACAT to comment a little bit about the involvement that ACAT's had training operators, because they are heavily involved and we heavily consult with them as we develop our training programs. Debbie?
Good evening. ACAT has been involved in training with TTC drivers and recertification classes for quite some time. My first term on ACAT was 2012, and I took part of my first training recertification then. One of the things that happens is, many of you are aware that every driver, whether you're a Wheel-Trans driver or a conventional driver, does have to recertify every 5 years. And ACAT, at least once a month, there is a schedule. People on ACAT can volunteer to sign up for these training classes. You fill out, set the times that you're available. You're sent the schedule, and everyone on ACAT is eligible to take part in these and go and talk about ACAT. What is it? What are the issues that confront your particular disability? You provide real-life examples and stories about how riding the transit as a person with a disability or a senior, it works for you. Drivers and everyone gets to talk to one another about a conversation about how it works, what works for you, why doesn't it work. We have a talking points document that all ACAT members receive. And for new ACAT members, if you've never taken part in a training session like that, we buddy you up if you wish to take part in it with somebody who's done it before. This year, the Family of Services pilot rolled out. ACAT was extensively involved in riding around, participating in the training of the functional assessments, working with the staff of TTC staff to ensure that the drivers were able to accommodate those new riders that took effect January of 2017, those with sensory disabilities, mental health, and cognitive disabilities. So Wheel-Trans drivers have been affected regarding the concerns of streetcar deboarding on a live lane of traffic. I totally understand this point. It has been raised as part of the subcommittee level at ACAT and continues to be worked on by staff and ACAT members. These concerns have not gone unnoticed by ACAT members at all. Thank you.
Okay, while we're waiting for some comments on the side, let's do another round on the floor. So I'd like to pass it over to Mark. Do you have a question?
I have a question regarding the fare structure. The gentleman, I wish to decline his suggestion because under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, persons with disabilities in Canada are protected, and Toronto cannot be seen as a city that accommodates the elite and leaves the disabled out in the cold. And are you aware that the definition of child will be dramatically changed to incorporate anyone who is in an educational facility, whether it's college, university, whatever, to the age of possibly up to age 25, is going to be considered a child. And I am definitely on the mission of getting no taxation on goods and services for children.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Z?
My name is Bao Hai Wang. I'm live 20 West Lodge. I'm senior. This year is 78. I use Mandarin. 我的问题是，多伦多对老人的车费太贵，希望能够降价。因为在加拿大其他城市，譬如温哥华，一年只要45块，而渥太华，它的车费一个礼拜可以免费4天。
My name is Bao Hai Wang. I live in 20 West Lodge Avenue. I am a senior people. I am 78 years of old. I want to say that in Toronto, the ticket fare for senior people is too high. And I can tell you the story in other city. In Vancouver, senior people only pay for $45 per year to then they can ride on the transportation. In Ottawa, senior people have 4 days free ride over the whole week. And in Toronto, the ticket fare is too high for us.
Okay, thank you. Donna?
Hello, my name's Joe Healy. I have a question concerning access to TTC properties where the initial entrance or the initial access to it is based on private property or privately owned areas. Particularly something like College Station, where the entrance for the accessibility is based through College Park. While the escalators and TTC may have some concerns, the escalators on the private property are almost always down. And this affects accessibility for those of us who have to access that station. What is TTC's plans for accessibility concerning stations where the primary entrance is not actually at ground level for a publicly owned process, but is actually owned by a private enterprise?
Thank you. Stuart?
Hi. In the last few weeks, I've had issues with not getting phone calls to my rides for the next day. I have had to phone 5:30 in the morning when the TTC opens up, and some of the attendants have been annoyed because I'm not calling for same-day service, but calling to find out my ride. And this is unacceptable. I have, over the past 3 weeks, I've had about 5 days that I haven't had calls. Other issues have been that I've somehow managed to find out when I was being picked up from home and getting down to my destination, and then finding out when I get home, I get my phone calls for when I'm being picked up from home and being picked up from my destination. This is very unacceptable, because then I have to spend at least an hour sitting down in my lobby waiting to find out, because I've been given an estimate of time between A time and B time for pickup from home and pickup from the destination.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll pass it over to the panel.
Okay, so again, we'll do the same order. I'll just pick a couple. Ladies, if you'd like to pick up the ones that I don't cover. The first item, I think, related back to that surcharge issue and Charter of Rights, fully agree. As long as I'm the CEO of the TTC, and any successor would absolutely have to adhere to the Charter, and we have no intentions whatsoever from deviating from it. We heard about the ticket fares being too high. Well, the good news there is that the city council are pursuing a poverty reduction strategy, and that to me is the vehicle through which we can address some of these fare inequity issues. I would love to be able to offer free fares for seniors. Where I'm from in the UK, seniors get free fares, and also to offer some further discount to you. But being frank and transparent with you, there's no prospect. As it is, we're the lowest funded transit in North America. So the key to this is to look at it from a citywide perspective. I would argue actually a federal or a provincial perspective to provide truly realistic assistance to the TTC, and for that matter to other people within the city who need those fare discounts. And then the other one I'll comment on, partly because I happened to go through College Park the other day, and yep, sure enough, both the escalators were under construction or being maintained at the same time. They're not TTC devices. I looked at it thinking, well, I bet I know who'll get blamed for it. We will. But you raise a valid point that, of course, that is a means of accessing the station. I think we need to do better at that. We'll take an action to look at that, to look at site by site those locations where your primary access is through a private enterprise. The vice chair who was sitting here earlier was on a one-man crusade to get Queen's Quay elevators sorted out because they were constantly out of action. They were run by Oxford Properties. We have, at our expense, we've got them renovated. They've had new pistons put into them, and we're taking action to get them transferred to the TTC so that we can look after them on your behalf. But we'll take an action to look at each station where access is through properties, and we will come up with an action plan to have some kind of service level agreement on each of them.
So I have an answer for the question about the why you weren't getting your calls. So we have a system, an automated system that calls you and lets you know what time your ride is. We will investigate if that was down. It is a possibility because we are making changes, such as telling it not to call you when you have a late cancellation and no-show. So as we make those changes for it not to call you, we need to make sure that it is calling you for your ride times. Just to let you know, though, you can call the ride line at 416-397-8000 to get ride times. You don't have to call at 5:30 as well. Reservations can let you know the exact time after 9 p.m. So after 9 p.m., your ride time has been confirmed for the next day. That's another option for you, but truly we need to get the IVR working and functioning properly. So we are sorry about what happened last week, but we are looking into it.
Okay, so we have a number of questions that we've received on the blue cards and via the webcast. And what we've done is we're amalgamating those questions that are similar. So you may not hear your exact question asked, but we'll certainly do our best to address the issue in which you're speaking, or of which you were speaking. So I'm just going to read a few out now. So a suggestion or a comment: conventional bus drivers need to stop closer to the curb and lower the bus. Sometimes there's a big gap. From the webcast, Jenna asks, when will all streetcars be fully accessible? Also from the webcast, on one-way streets, please work with parking enforcement to ensure that Wheel-Trans drivers do not get blocked. And another question is, will door-to-door service still be available after Family of Services kicks in? So I'll leave it at that for now, and we'll come back to these questions. Pardon?
Okay, so we'll give you a quick response. Okay, so Emily, I could see you're a fan of low-floor streetcars. I could be facetious, everyone, and in answer to the question, when will they be fully accessible, I could be facetious and say, ask Bombardier. But I'm not going to. I'm going to be professional, and I'm going to say, by the end of 2019, right? At the moment, although we do not have as many new streetcars as we should, we have 44 on property, 42 available for service. The end date has not slipped, and I'm not letting them slip. It's still the end of 2019. Now, that does mean Bombardier's problem gets worse because they have even less time to finish the order Not my problem. That's their problem. Theirs to sort out. I'm holding the line for you, and all streetcar routes will be available, accessible, fully accessible by the end of 2019. And perhaps would you guys do the others?
So I'll just do a repeat on a little bit on the training issue. Bus drivers do need to lower the bus, and they do need to place their bus close to the curb as possible. And that's how they're trained, frankly, and that's the expectation of their supervisors and the management at the TTC. Again, we just have to reinforce with our operators through our training programs and through this specially developed module that we've developed and are rolling out across the system to support family of services. And with Debbie and with the people on ACAT to give our operators a sense of the reality of what that means, that you do have to pull up. It is an accessibility issue. It might only be a few inches to the operator, but it's important. So we get it, and we're continually trying to reinforce that message through our training programs and through our one-to-one counseling of operators.
And I'll answer the other two Wheel-Trans questions. So do we work with parking enforcement to ensure that Wheel-Trans vehicles don't get blocked down narrow streets? Absolutely, we do. We work with many departments of the City of Toronto to facilitate the movement of Wheel-Trans vehicles in and out and around the city. And then another question was about, will there still be door-to-door after family of services? Of course there will. We anticipate that there will be those customers that the conventional service is still not an option, despite it being considered 100% accessible. And the intent of all of these efforts is to preserve that service for you. So for those customers who just needed Wheel-Trans as a bridge to the conventional system, that's what we're there for. But for those customers who need us for door-to-door, that's our intent, is to keep it there for you.
Thank you. I have a few more questions and comments from the cards and the webcast, so I'll read those out now. So one comment, can we consider holding this forum in the morning rather than the evening? Another comment or question, there's rough suspension on the current vehicles. Will the new Wheel-Trans buses have better suspension? Another question, is there a way to coordinate multi-people pickups? Another question, can you please explain what a conditional customer is? And one last comment here. You should consider doing a PSA, a public service announcement, about family of services with Eve, Andy, and John Tory. So I'll pass it over to the panel.
Okay, I'll take the first comment about holding the forum in the daytime. That's actually a really great suggestion, and we'll take that back. We're always looking to improve this forum, and I think, as Andy commented earlier, it gets better and better every year, obvious by the turnout. So, yeah, we'll take that back for sure. Thank you.
I'll deal with the last one. Yeah, sure, we could do something. I'm always up for making a video, or for doing something, and the mayor, I think the mayor quite likes that kind of thing as well. So, no, all joking apart, I think it's a good suggestion. What we would want to do, though, is make sure we get the messaging right. So please, whoever made the comment, if you could let us know exactly what type of scripting you want, we could easily work something up. We'll be happy to do that.
Okay, so a question about the suspension on the new vehicles. So the current vehicles having rough suspension. The new ones, I think you will find them more comfortable. They are smaller. The old ones were built kind of on the back of a flatbed truck, and this is now, the new vehicle is a purpose-built original size vehicle, so we haven't made any modifications other than making it low floor. So I'm sure my friends in maintenance will tell me the same thing, that the new vehicle will be more comfortable and less jarring, we'll say. Is there a way to coordinate multi-people pickups? Absolutely. In fact, that's something that we're focusing on right now, is looking at a way to do that. So don't be surprised, Wheel-Trans customers, if you get a call that might say that we know you've asked for this time, but we are trying to coordinate multi-people on the same vehicle. Our goal is to get as many people as we can on our vehicles so that they're to preserve more vehicles for others. So to make best use of our valuable asset is to coordinate, and we'll ask for your help with that. If we could adjust your trip by 15 minutes, that could make it possible for us to pick up your neighbors or persons in the area, particularly if you're all going somewhere to somewhere like this, or to somewhere like an event at the Rogers Centre or anywhere else, or even Christmas shopping or something like that at a mall, Yorkdale Mall, for example. It would really help us if we could help you to do that and group trips together. So that is our goal. And then what is a conditional customer? So that is a definition that was put in by the AODA, so the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, and that came into effect at the TTC in Wheel-Trans in January 1st of this year, where we changed eligibility to include persons with any disability, any Human Rights Code identified disability that prevented them from using the conventional system. So whereas Wheel-Trans was just for persons with mobility disability, it is now open to customers with cognitive disability, sensory disability, mental health disability. And what conditional is a category. So where before we had permanent or temporary, so a temporary would be someone, for example, with a hip replacement that just needs it for a short time and they'll get back to their normal way of traveling. What conditional is that sometimes some conditions present themselves where a person must use Wheel-Trans, and other times those conditions aren't present, so they can use the conventional system. I speak to a condition such as ice and snow. For persons in mobility devices, traveling when there's several inches of snow on the ground is difficult, or if it's extra cold, the battery could die on a mobility device. So in the wintertime, Wheel-Trans would be needed. That would be a condition when the conventional system or accessing the conventional system yourself wouldn't be possible. Or perhaps there is a nighttime issue where during the day travel on the conventional system is fine for a customer, whereas at night they need Wheel-Trans. So it really is customer specific. It could be destination specific for customers with cognitive disabilities if they can navigate a simple from home to another place of residence. If they know how to get there, they can take the conventional system themselves. But any other location, if you have cognitive disability, becomes very challenging to navigate. So that would be another candidate for taking Wheel-Trans sometimes, but not other times. I hope that answers better. There is much more information on our website as well.
Okay, thank you. Let's open it back up to the floor. Mark?
Yes, I'd like to first of all say thank you to the transit service for giving me Wheel-Trans. I've been a member for about 2 years, and I'm very happy to be able to have it. Still, I have a few questions. I am of the generation that is not computer literate. So it seems to me that as further down the line we go, the less service we get from human beings. Is it possible you could hire a few people instead of a machine? Okay, I would prefer that. And also, I'd have to say that I've been going Wheel-Trans, as I said, 2.5 years. In that time, I think I have had 5 occasions of somebody in the van or the taxi, and I've gone at least twice a week. So that I'm glad to hear that you're doing something about transferring more people to the service that you already have. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Z?
Hello, my name is Osbert Elias, and my question is there any plans to increase the expiry time for people with a registration like myself number, and maybe show the expiry time for the service? Because last year I was put off when I would call to make a ride. They told me that my registration number had expired and I could not get to my therapy I had to go through the doctor forms and all that, which took days. I finally got it, and I'm afraid to call now because I'm thinking, I'm going to experience the same thing. I'm not sure what my expiry time is now, and I'm afraid to ask.
Okay, thank you. Donna?
Yes, I can stand. I will be quick. There's a few things. I think that Wheel-Trans is a very valuable system in our city, but with every good thing, you need to always better yourself in different things. One, the phone system is completely busy. Perhaps for people that use online, we could be able to modify things ourselves or have a callback system. Or if reservations is busy and the customer service is busy, other lines could pick up the slack. Next, I often find that the customer service is often a Wheel-Trans service. Perhaps you could pilot out a private company to be the customer service so that therefore the customer service can't defend their fellow co-workers. Next, people who work in the office, I often find perhaps they shouldn't be former drivers or former other employees from different departments, but perhaps they could be people who apply for the position with proper qualifications. Also, the same for
You're at a minute.
drivers. I'm almost finished. TTC shouldn't have the rule first for bus drivers also that you have to be conventional drivers, but people who passionately want to be a Wheel-Trans bus driver. If drivers are going to be late, perhaps they can text you if they're 5 minutes beyond so that we're not in pain waiting in an area. Here, when we're raising our hands, maybe you could just give us a flag because my arm was getting really slow.
Okay.
I'm just going to answer.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have to stop you there so we can hear from more people, but thank you for your comments. Stuart?
Thank you very much for letting me speak tonight. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the great streetcar drivers that have helped me so much lifting my walker up onto the streetcar. My other comment is, again, something about the Wheel-Trans and how they pick up people. There was myself and another fellow waiting at my address to come to this meeting tonight. A bus came to pick him up, but he couldn't put me on the bus. Apparently had something to do with his schedule or something. Why not, if you've got two people at one spot, why not pick them both up at the same time? Especially if they're going to the same destination.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll pass it over to the panel now.
So I'll take several questions. So we've had some excellent suggestions here. For the person who said that you weren't computer literate, can we hire a few people instead of just machines? The intent of the machines is so that for those who are able to use them, that we give them more and more and more flexibility so they don't need to call in, and then that frees up the line for those who must use the telephone, that is your only means of contacting us. Better technology enables customers who want to make changes, and that tied into the other one about better flexibility online. That is absolutely our intent. Also, the new phone system, the suggestion for can you have a callback feature when the lines are busy, that is something that we will be installing so that if the line's busy, we will get back to you. Recruitment from outside for Wheel-Trans, certainly we do that. We do work with our local of the ATU, and there are hiring policies there, but we do regularly have opportunities where we can hire our employees from the outside. Mostly recently, we just did that in reservations late last year, early this year, and that may happen again. And then text notifications if vehicles are late. That's another feature of the new system that's coming. You're absolutely right. We don't let you know when we're late, but we certainly let you know when you're late. So we need to let you know when we're running late so that you can make your adjustments. So that is something we need to do. And then another comment on the Wheel-Trans pickup, that we sent 2 vehicles to the same location to pick up 2 people who were coming here. So that, you're absolutely right. Again, that is something that we need to do better with group bookings. So please stay tuned. Virtually all managers from Wheel-Trans department are here, and they're taking down all of this, and we will be continuing to make these changes.
I'll just, if I may, make one more comment. I mean, I think it's important that we don't tar everyone with the same brush. I think that there's some valid suggestions that were just made. I actually wouldn't want to see a hard and fast rule that says don't have ex-workers in customer service, because I think there's an advantage sometimes to having people who know what it's like out on the street or working in the office, and vice versa for that matter. And I also think on occasions, people for valid reason can't work on the street anymore, and yet they've got a passion for Wheel-Trans, so should they be excluded? And I'd also like to just do one big shout out. We totally hear you about the wait times and the call service challenges. It's certainly not, and I know you're not saying this, it is not the fault of those people on the phone lines. I think actually our customer reservations people do a stellar job under very difficult circumstances. Our job is to give them more support, to give you better customer service.
Okay, we'll go back out to the floor, and we'll take a few more questions this round before we turn it back over to the panel. So, Mark?
Hello. Andy, you were mentioning like getting funding from either the city, the province, the feds. If you're open to it, I can show you how to raise money without begging the city, without begging the province, without begging the feds. Here's one very simple reason it works already right now. North of Steeles, you can go along Steeles. In York Region, every bus stop has advertising there on the garbage receptacles. If it works north of Steeles, it'll work south of Steeles. You can go back to putting advertising on the benches as well, and I have many, many, many more. All you need to do is listen if you're open to it. Unless you're only of the mindset, no, we gotta beg the province, we gotta beg the feds. If you're open to it, I can give you ideas for it. I can show you how to fund, pay the difference for York Region, for Wheel-Trans, pay it off in full. Give me half an hour, I'll tell you it. If you don't like it, I'll shut my mouth. Simple.
Okay, thank you. See?
Okay, here we go. Thanks. Hi, my name is David Lepovsky. Mr. Byford, you were kindly asked for advice of what you should say in a public service announcement. How about this? TTC will never force any person qualified for Wheel-Trans to go on Family of Services if they don't consent to it. I think that would be a good start. Second, we were asked for feedback. The purpose of this public forum, we were told, was to get input from us, the passengers. People came from all over the city. The recommendation I make is the one I made every year pretty much for years, which is to cut back on the TTC speechifying and leave more time for the public to actually present. You impose a 1-minute rule on these people. Used to be 3, it's down to 1. How about a 1-minute rule on your answers? Give these people a chance to talk. Keep the infomercials for the TTC to your website, or make it available to people who want to click and watch it. And use the 2 hours to hear from these people. I think that would be a way to achieve the purpose that this is all meant to serve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Donna?
Thank you. When we book online, I've often wondered why we don't have a chance to write in the name of the destination, other than, I think it's for stores or for restaurants. I've even had someone at who works at Wheel-Trans express surprise that we can't do it for other things. I think that would help people find us. I've also wondered whether those of us who have not volunteered for the Family of Services are being penalized on the phones, because the message on the phone line is if you volunteer, you will have people answering the phones more quickly, or something to that effect. And since the beginning of summer, I can, and by the way, I book online most of the time, but when I need to phone in, 80% of the time, I can't even get on to wait in line for an hour. I'm just told the lines are busy. And I know you're getting new phones, but I was just wishing from now until the end of the year that that wouldn't happen. And like David's saying, he comes every year and repeats things. I'm also repeating. Very often drivers do not walk us to the door. Very often drivers are still talking on the phone.
Over a minute.
And finally, they are driving with earphones in their ears. And I just do not understand why the people who coordinate with at Wheel-Trans who coordinate with the taxi companies cannot just be adamant that this is simply not to be tolerated.
Okay, thank you very much. Stuart?
Hi, I absolutely have no trouble with any of my taxi drivers. They've been wonderful the whole 3 years I've been using them. But really my main comment is, so I heard that Mr. Byford is stepping down as CEO, and I heard it's because he's tired of fighting with City Hall, tired of fighting with Bombardier, and what I'm saying to you is take massages and maybe do some meditation, but please don't leave us.
Thank you. So we'll go back to Mark. We'll do another round. We'll go back to Mark.
Good evening. My name is Kylie. I have 3 things that I'd like to speak to. I might add a 4th. The first thing is, I have a question about online booking on a weekly basis. I can book online, but I can't cancel online. I have to call in to cancel, which I find annoying. So that's an issue. That's the first thing. Second thing is, my next 2 issues are around this evening's event. I was in line trying to book Wheel-Trans. When I was picked up by the Wheel-Trans driver, they made an assumption on my gender. So I think that there needs to be some training around that for the drivers. The third thing just excuse the interpreters for a moment. So I reserved a seat for this evening so that I could sit up front in this front row here, and it really should be that the whole row is really dedicated to folks who need sign language interpreters. So that wasn't the case. So that's been the case in the past. Last year when I was here, there were some seats dedicated for deaf folks up at the front, but this year I got here and barely got a spot. So I think it's nice to keep that in mind for next year's event. And I think that's it for now.
Okay, thank you very much. Aziz?
Hello, I'm Noordin. I have a problem with regard to the booking of Wheel-Trans. About 3 weeks back, it so happened to me that when I was trying to book the ride, they said the line was busy for more than an hour, more than 60 minutes. I was tired about it. Then I rang up 4311. They said, this priority line, we can't do anything about it. Then I asked them, what can I do? They said, ring up customer service for 111. Then at last I got him to help me. He at last gave me the ride. But this keeping for a long time is something, it's not new, it's happening very often. I suggest that after about 20-30 minutes, a hotline should be set up. That means that the booking officer should transfer the line to somebody who can immediately book the ride after half an hour or 40 minutes or something like that. It can't go on for hours. We are handicapped people. We can't hold on to the phone for more than an hour. So we have much difficulties. Kindly help us. That's all.
Thank you. Donna, do you have a question for us or a comment?
Hello. My name is Lana, and I am new in Canada and in Toronto, and I have a small issue about the little kids on TTC buses. The problem is that there is no sticker that would explain that the little customers on TTC are also prioritized as long as there are no other customers in a bigger need. And the situation is that there are 2 blue seats on the left side that are possible to lift, and they put a stroller basically out of the way. And the problem is I never personally travel on a rush hour. I'm a mother of a 2-year-old who is super active, super curious, and her head is always somewhere out, and legs and hands and everything. And how it looks now that the strollers just have to be somewhere middle of the bus, and some other people are just going through. They can hand their heavy bags over the head of the child. Sometimes they accidentally hit the child. And the problem is that these very blue seats that are possible to lift up, they are the most popular among all the clients of TTC, and they are pretty much always taken, though 70% of other seats are totally free. And that's why I already asked customer service, why would it not be possible to put a sticker also for mothers of toddlers to allow them use this seat as long as it's not used by some other people.
Okay, thank you very much. And Stuart, do you have a question or comment?
Hi, my name is Bruno. One thing is thank you to that lady who just brought up about the strollers. And that was one of my feelings, that it would help the flow of people getting on and off, because sometimes we find during rush hour there are 2 side by side, and you either have to go to the back or force one of them in further. Number 2, as a blind person, my concern, a question I have is about these new LRTs. Spadina, for instance, I've been down there with someone. I couldn't see myself crossing from the sidewalk to the middle of that road. Also, when I get on the LRT, I can't find where to swipe the card. I spent one day about half an hour trying to find it, and the driver, of course, is blocked, is inside. And finally, a person directed me to it, but it was almost maybe not the middle of the car, but on the other side. So I'm a little concerned about that, and especially with the new one coming on Eglinton, whether or not underground it would be the same. And the final comment is, every time I get the property taxes, I see that if anybody is happy with the services of the Wheel-Trans or TTC, this is just for suggestions. If one wants to make a personal donation, they can.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll turn it over to the panel for questions or comments.
So in being brief, there's quite a few technical questions that were asked of us. With your technical questions, I always encourage you to call customer service, and specifically we can help you through, or send us an email and we'll get back to you. As far as wait times on the phone, this will be my 3rd year saying the wait times are not acceptable. We know that. An hour to wait on the phone is far too long, and it's not fair. I am looking forward to the new phone lines coming in. That won't solve everything. We do deal with a high volume of calls. There are better times than others to call us. Certainly Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the mornings are very peak time for us. Weekends are better times, and you're better, easier able to get through. And as far as being able to cancel, it depends on the type of trip. Some trips you can cancel online, other trips you cannot. And lastly, on driver training, for sensitivity and not to make assumptions based on gender, that is something that we are rolling through with all of our operators, have gone through it. But if you find a specific incident, please let us know, and we can then have a sit down with that driver directly on the appropriate way to address customers. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to address the comments regarding the locating the Presto machine to swipe your card. We are hoping to have some type of, there's a couple ways to deal with it. I suggest, Bruno and others, that if you wish to know ahead of time, you could always ask an O&M instructor to come out and orient you to the streetcar. I'd like to hope at some point that we have an orientation where a streetcar or a new bus is available for people to come and look at, and TTC staff would be on hand to assist people to learn where and how to swipe their card. It also happens at the fare gates, and many of you have used those, and you know, those are something that you learn as you use the system. But you know, people will be available to assist you, and as I mentioned, you can always call for an orientation and mobility specialist at this point to orient you to the vehicle.
I'll just comment on a couple of things. First up, I think the comments relating to, I think I understood, the drivers not walking to the door, talking on the phone, earphones in ears, I'm guessing was about taxis, sedans, rather than Wheel-Trans drivers. So we'll take that on board. We will issue reminders. Then there's that perennial problem of strollers, which we definitely haven't cracked yet. It is proving to be a tough nut to crack. It does, to a certain extent, rely on people being reasonable and what's the word, sort of considerate. Thank you, considerate. So again, we will have another go at that.
Okay. So we had a number of questions received through the blue cards and online as well. So I'm going to read through the questions and comments that we received. So regarding late pickups, does the 20-minute late still not count as a no-show trip? For example, can we leave after 20 minutes and not have it counted as a no-show? Comment, please strongly promote a cent-free policy on Wheel-Trans. Do Wheel-Trans users have the same right to film inside the system, including during eligibility assessments? A comment from Twitter, we loved the accessible buses on Queen. Now we are back to inaccessible streetcars. Why are we spending taxpayer money to go backwards? Would it be possible to have any late and or no-show penalties added to our profiles so we can keep track? Wheel-Trans should work like Uber in that you should be able to track your vehicle online. And a couple more. Why are there not Wheel-Trans buses to serve as shuttles to bypass non-accessible subway stations, for example, between Jane and Kipling? And we have two more. Will ramps on the new minibuses be 12-to-1 or 10-to-1 ratio? I'm concerned that they will be too steep. And one more, can you suspend a customer who is consistently late every day? They make others late. I'll pass it over.
Okay, when you are when the vehicle's 20 minutes late and you're not there, does it count as against you? No, it does not. There is a cent-free policy on Wheel-Trans. That is one issue that we work with ACAT on regularly, that we have signs on all the vehicles. If your vehicle does not have a sign, let us know, because it should be there, and maintenance check the signs every night. So we make sure that the signs are there, and we do have a cent-free policy. Uberized Wheel-Trans, that's exactly what our new system will do, is that if you have a smartphone, you will be able to see where your vehicle is, you will know how far it is away, it will notify you when it is at your discretion how far it is away, and you will also be able to see if one is coming to your area that you could select and spontaneously get on if you'd like to. As far as the ramps, 1 in 12 and 1 in 10 is shallower than the ramps will be, but they are better than code. They are beyond the minimums. They are less steep than the minimum. So we have done better than that. However, if it was 1 in 10 or 1 in 12, the ramps would stick out all the way across a sidewalk, and then we would be tripping up other customers. We are attempting to fairly share the space, so we're choosing a happy medium point there. As far as can you film an eligibility assessment, I don't have an answer to that, but we will, all of the Q&As will be posted online, so we'll have the answer by the time it is posted for that one.
Okay, I'll just comment on Queen and the question around why have we moved from accessible buses back to inaccessible streetcars, and the suggestion was made that doing that was a waste of taxpayers' dollars. I would actually argue the converse. Were we to permanently replace streetcars for which we have paid a lot of money, the order is signed, we've built a new streetcar barn to accommodate them with buses, we would end up wasting taxpayers' dollars, because we would end up having to have about 3 times the number of vehicles, because the new streetcars carry way more people. That means 3 times the number of operators and probably mechanics, and almost certainly a new garage. But I get the point that it seems retrograde that we've gone back to being inaccessible. That's why I'm hammering Bombardier to get on with giving us new streetcars so that we can get Queen converted.
Okay, thank you. Let's turn it back to the floor. Mark?
Hello, my name's Gary Henry, and my issue is, first of all, the driver's Wheel-Trans is unbelievable, and I don't have internet or a computer. I call at 7 in the morning, takes me 5 hours to get in. I had an ultrasound at Princess Margaret, and I had to miss it. So they should have a better system when you call up on a phone.
Okay, thank you. See?
My name is Ivor Miller, and I have a concern. I have been taking the TTC buses since 1993. I was on my way in September of 2008. I got injury on the buses. Until now, I haven't got a cent from the TTC. I do surgeries and got a lot more to go on doing, and these are situations that the TTC need to address. People are hurting, and because of this, I lost my home and forced to live into a shelter from a taxpayer person, and this has to be addressed by the TTC, please, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Donna?
Hi, my name is Bonnie Lyons Cohen, and I have some problems with the accessible taxis. They're supposed to have cards, readers, but they don't. And I've gotten into arguments because I don't want to pay my fare if I already have a card. So they put me down as a no fare, and I say, please put me down as a Presto user. And my commute is becoming very stressful on account of this.
Okay, thank you. Stuart?
Hi there. Well, I just had a comment about those new Toronto Rocket subway cars which are operated on lines 1 and 4. Well, I do find it beneficial is the announcements on the train. So I like the fact is this. The next station is Queen Station. And then the second one is arriving at Queen Station. Doors will open on the right. What I am curious about is about this for a few years is I find those new door opening sign announcements on the trains, the verbal ones that says doors open left or doors open right, I find this weird and strange because I know that some people are not familiar with these announcements. And I know it's kind of weird because some people are going to look at the back of the train and they're going to know, they're going to saying, I have never heard such announcements of this in my life because this has been there for the past 2 years. And I just want to bring this up to attention to see, should this stay there permanently? If it's just like a pilot program, or should this be removed? Because I'm not sure about this announcement. Everyone, I just want to clarify this. Everyone can benefit is, the next station is Queen Station, and arriving at Queen Station, for example, as those automated stop announcements on the Toronto
Okay,
Rocket
we're
trains.
past a minute. Okay, thank you very much. We will go back to Mark. We'll try to get a few more questions in.
Okay, so the question over here is, there was an appointment that was scheduled for 9, but she didn't get there until after 10. So what are we doing to keep Wheel-Trans service on time?
Thank you. Z?
My name is Catherine Williams. I'm a senior. I'm 84 and a half. And a half that I add on is the same as the half that is added on to babies. When they're a year, they say they're 12 months, or they say 13 months or 14 months. But my problem was that I booked 3 rides, and the first rider did not ring the bell. And I lost all 3 rides, and that was 6 points. So I can only get 1 more. And I don't know how I could get that.
Okay, thank you very much. Donna?
Hi, my name is Tony Corrado, and I would like the person who designed the secure things on the bus, I don't remember what you call them, if he would like to try and get in there without getting your wheels caught in them. They should have been made flush and pulled out, not sticking out. And the second wheelchair space on the TTC bus is much longer than the first one, and it's easier to get into. And they should have been the same.
Okay, thank you. And Stuart?
Hi, my question was partially answered by Eve about Uberizing Wheel-Trans. I'm just wondering if there's any thought towards a Wheel-Trans app that has a predictive destination instead of having to punch in the address, the street, the direction, and where it could automatically come up with its own idea about where you want to go.
Thank you. I'll pass it over to the panel.
Should we start with Debbie?
I'd like to address the question regarding the audible announcement, the doors opening on the left and so on. That announcement is specifically helpful for those with vision loss. For example, thank you. The purpose is to orient the person to the front of the train. So if the doors open on the left and you're on the opposite side of the train, it allows you to know the door opening announcement is in relationship to the front of the train. So that's the purpose of the doors opening on the left or the right. Also, if you're new to Toronto, and one thing we mention in ACAT often, this service, we are here in this room and we use it on a regular basis. There are people who visit this city from many, many countries, and we try to make the system, particularly for people with disabilities, as intuitive as we can. So those are things we try to put in place so that people who visit can get a sense of how to travel in Toronto. Thank you.
So I'll answer the question on the accessible taxi, should the Presto card reader. So every accessible taxi and Wheel-Trans bus does have a Presto card reader. We are working to make sure that all of them are working, however. So I regret the trouble that you are having, but we are working to have better reliability on those Presto readers. We work with the TTC's Presto team to work with Presto to make that possible. On-time service for Wheel-Trans, what are we doing to keep us on time? Lots of things, and it would take me too long to give an answer, and we really need to hear more of your questions, but certainly tracking vehicles, we are increasing the size of our ability to respond and observe what's happening to all of our vehicles using technology again, so that we can track the vehicles, know where they are, so that the vehicles themselves can let us know when they're late and we can make those adjustments rather than letting just the day progressively get later. Also, for the customer that booked 3 rides and because the driver didn't ring the bell, you lost your 6 points. I'm going to send somebody over to you tonight to get your name, and we'll get those points removed from your system. If it's our fault, then we should remove record of that. So we'll take that off, and I'll send somebody over tonight to do that. And the Wheel-Trans app, yes, predictive suggestion, I think that's a great idea, and all of these suggestions, keep them coming, because when we make the final request for proposals from technology companies to come in, we want to make sure we are asking for everything that you are looking for that would work for you. So please keep your suggestions coming. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I recognize that we're getting close to the end, and I know that you all have a lot of questions. Do we have time for a couple more questions? Okay, so Mark, do you have somebody with a question?
Yes, I have a question, actually a suggestion. Why don't you divide the Wheel-Trans ride system into quadrants as you do the TTC? For example, I was picked up at St. Clair. We went all the way over to Keele in north of Wilson something. Then we went back to Shepherd Avenue, picked somebody up, and then I was dropped off, which is just south of Shepherd, and 401. And I found it rather curious. Oftentimes it takes me sometimes an hour and a half to get home, where normally it would take maybe 20 minutes, but that's because we go way east and then way north, and then I'm dropped off an hour and a half later. That's not really efficient use of the system. But if you divided it into a quadrant of north, south, east, west, maybe from Avenue Road to wherever, or Yonge Street to wherever, east and Yonge Street, wherever west, it would make perfect sense. Then you could also have 4 telephone lines that everybody in the north uses one, south uses another, and that way it would simplify your system, and I think make it more cost effective and more efficient.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we can take one more question. I'm sorry, we have to use the mics so that everyone can hear.
I use the low-floor buses fairly regularly, and I was wondering if ramps could be left out if the bus is in the station, instead of having to wait for the driver to come back and put the ramp out.
Okay, thank you. Do we have one quick question? Donna.
Hi, my name is Brapa. I have a few questions, actually.
Actually, we have time for one more question from you. I'm sorry, sir. We're running short.
One main thing is that when I'm using the conventional buses, when they pull into the bus station, they stop at different platforms. As a blind person, for myself to orient myself properly, I would need to know actually where the bus is stopping. When I am traveling, I work at Birchmount and Eglinton, and when I take the 34 bus, it may stop at the end spare platform, or it may stop at the 20 platform. I want to know where it stopped. When I asked the driver, they asked him, why are you asking this question? So the announcement should be made automatically, or may the driver announce the platform where it is stopping so I can orient myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over for some quick comments and then pass it over to Andy Byford for closing remarks.
Just a quick comment. The city actually for Wheel-Trans is divided into 13 zones already, and we're looking at increasing them because we do see that you do have trips still that are all over the place that don't fit nicely. So that is part of the system work that we're doing right now to eliminate those absolutely as much as possible, because you're right, it makes no sense. So thank you, we are working on that.
Regarding the gentleman's question on buses pulling into the platforms, I can totally concur. For those of you who don't know, I am visually impaired and I have a guide dog. And I travel to different stations and different platforms, but it is very helpful to know where the bus is going to stop at. And in stations that are large, like York Mills or Eglinton Station, there are a few tricks you can learn to count the turns or have an idea, but always, always ask the driver. Or if you're not certain, what I often do is I say, am I at the eastbound platform? Or am I at such and such? Because they can give me a simple yes or no answer. The other piece to that, and it's very important to drivers, is if you are going to stop on the street at somewhere that is not your designated stop, please let the passenger know when they get off the bus. Because if you're assuming that you're stopping at the regular stop, it's a problem for those who have vision loss to orient themselves. Not because they can't, because they assume that they're at the normal stop and they're not. So it's important to know that. So we work on that in ACAT diligently. Thank you.
I'm going to pass it over to Andy Byford, TTC CEO, who will offer some closing remarks.
Okay. So thank you. A number of thanks just to kick things off. I'll keep this fairly brief because I'm sure people do want to go home after what's been a long day. So first up, thank you to everyone involved in setting up the event, including all of my TTC colleagues over there who've given up their time to man the staff the stands, to our special events team, to the comms team and the radio shop, and to pick up on Eve's point earlier, to the wonderful Wheel-Trans employees, front of house and back of house, who I think do a stellar job day in, day out. To Debbie and to ACAT, I believe you're the best in the business. To the Ombudsman, which I think was fantastic, the Ombudsman bothered to turn up today. I think that's great. And also to our board members that are here tonight, we really appreciate you being here. But for, most of all, a big thanks to you. You're the people that have brought us out tonight. It's your forum, that's why we've been here. So my sixth forum, I'd say as ever, a highly enjoyable, highly informative event. Now we think we're making good progress, and compared to some transits, we are. I've been to a few places recently where the TTC is way better than those other locations. We've introduced new vehicles, both specialized and conventional. We're taking steps to deal with long-standing issues such as gaps on the subway. We're improving processes, and we're getting ever closer to that elusive, fully accessible subway, and we will deliver that and a fully accessible transit system by 2025. We've also, I'm very pleased to say, got back full funding for that accessible subway program. And rightly so. But what's most important isn't what we think, it's what you think and what you experience. And I've heard words tonight like dignity, spontaneity, fairness, freedom of travel, and independence. And it is important that we always remember as TTC staff that that's what it's all about. We take it as a norm. People using the conventional system have services that are largely reflective of those adjectives. You should have that as well. So what have I heard tonight? Wait times still too long. I cringe when I heard earlier that some people are on the phones for an hour. There's design issues. There's design issues. There's issues around forum content that we will take away. There's suggestions for further improvement, some of which I think are complete no-brainers. So we should be fixing them, particularly those relating to scheduling. We've tried to give you insightful answers, but what we will do is provide a full list of questions and answers so that we can fill in the gaps where we didn't get to answer things or where we undertook to take further actions. So in closing, while I'm immensely proud to head up the TTC in the 2017 year when we've won the APTA Transit System of the Year Award, it's clear that we cannot consider our work to be done until we are the accessible transit system of the year. And that's what we at the TTC are determined to do. That's our commitment to you. We recognize from what we've heard in this forum tonight that we've still got a way to go. So we're going to reflect upon what we've heard tonight. We're going to work upon those elements that you're still not happy with, and we won't let up until we've addressed those issues. Have a safe trip home, and thanks for coming. Thank you.
So just one more thing before we leave. Please do remember that this is not the end of the conversation. So if you have any questions or comments that were not addressed tonight, or if you have any additional ideas throughout the year, please continue to be in touch with the TTC. And if we could get that slide up that has the contact information, you can reach out to the TTC by phone by calling 416-393-3030 or the TTY line 416-338-0357, by email at accessibility.forum@ttc.ca, through Twitter via @TTCHelps, or by sending a letter to our office at 1900 Yonge Street, Toronto M4S 1Z2. And you can also reach out to ACAT by email, acat@ttc.ca, or by calling 416-393-4111. Thank you again.